From the shadowy depths of the city, where justice and mystery intertwine, emerges a broadcast as daring and vigilant as the masked Avenger himself. You are tuned in to the Green Hornet Case Files, unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Corey and Greg.
Welcome to the Green Hornet Case Files. My name is Corey.
And I'm Greg, Green Hornet guy.
You are the Green Hornet guy.
I am the Green Hornet guy.
GreenHornet66.com.
Yeah, be sure and drop by. I'd love to have you stop by and check out the new website. So this is episode 00. We wanted to kind of jump in and kind of let you know what, besides the teaser we just did, I want to let you know what the Green Hornet Case Files was going to be all about. And I'm an old Green Hornet fan.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Big heavy on the old part there.
That wasn't the understatement part, but
yeah. But Corey, you're relatively new to Hornet stuff, right?
So yeah, with I mean, when you contacted me about that, we were talking about it. You're like, "What do you know about the Hornet?" And I was like, "Just enough to be dangerous."
Mm-hmm.
I came to the Hornet through a childhood obsession with the Lone Ranger. And
good connection,
right? Yeah, so
we'll talk about that.
But when I found out that the Hornet was kind of, well, more than kind of, but a modern analogy for the Lone Ranger, and then the connection of making him a distant relative and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I thought that was really cool. I was super interested in that. And then it kind of fell off again for a while. In my early teens, I got into Bruce Lee, so that led me back to the 66 television show, which I didn't see a ton of, but I'm a Bruce Lee fanatic, you know that.
Right.
And then again, it keeps cropping up in my life in connection to other fandoms that I have. And so when Kevin Smith picked up the comic for Dynamite, I got back into it again. Right. And then, well, my good friend became really into it.
And I became really into it. And, that's a story in of itself. The interesting thing, we're going to talk about all this different kind of stuff as we go through the process of this new podcast. I am such a fan and I'm a fan of the radio show. I'm a fan of the original Fran Stryker concept of this whole thing. And I know everybody talks about, the show being created by somebody else, but Fran Stryker is the one that actually... It was his brain.
He did the lion's share of the work.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to talk about all those kind of things. Where did all that come from? How, what was the impetus for the Green Hornet?
And our guide through this, we're going to be referring to quite a bit, is that tome that you let me borrow yesterday.
Yeah. Book on the Green Hornet written by Martin Grams and Terry Solomson. And... good Lord, how big is that? Those guys must have worked for years and Martin's not that old, so
it is thorough, I guess comprehensive, but that's just another word for thorough. But I mean, it's massive. There is so much to know.
It is extraordinarily incredible work to be able to go through and to pick out. I mean, because you talk about the original radio series. Green Hornets had so many lives.
Right.
The Green Hornet radio series that started back in the 30s. And then you jump over into the movie serials that happened in the early 40s, 1940, 41. And then it goes into syndication in newspapers and then comic books. And then 1966 rolls around, and we wind up with this this offshoot, whatever, from the Batman TV series.
Right.
And all through this, then, you get the Kevin Smiths that come along and put out these incredible versions, which was supposed to be a movie script in the first place. And again, we'll talk about that.
Right.
And then the 2011 film, which... we're going to talk about.
Oh, I believe it. And then I know it's going to be there's points of contention, but there's some gems in it. I don't hate it.
There are parts that maybe the H word will come into play, but these are all areas that we want to discuss, and I want to discuss some of the individual pieces of it. I want to talk about the different weapons. I want to talk about the memorabilia from the shows. We're going to deep dive on like the serials and different aspects, including something that popped up. I was watching an episode of The Shadow, a 1939 version of The Shadow last night. And all of a sudden it hit me is that 1930-ish period back then when so many of the great characters, comic book hero-y kind of characters, came out of, about why, and why they were fighting crime and not the police.
So I think, and this is, we're both really attracted to the pulp era.
Oh yeah,
Of pop culture, and those, that's going to lead to. Don't get me wrong, we're a Green Hornet podcast, but that's going to lead us down roads of discussing The Shadow, and I think we're going to end up in some of those Doc Savage areas.
We can't not go
right
there, because that's all part of how this all came to be.
Yeah.
And we have some friends that are going to be joining us along the way. I've been reaching out to some folks that have agreed to already, jump on board.
And a couple of these I can't wait to share. It's going to be cool. It's going to be real cool.
It really is. First and foremost, and I will share this, is that I reached out to Martin Grams, who is the co-author of the book. And Martin's is, he's behind us 100%,
fantastic
on this. And I think he'll be joining us probably on at least one podcast, if not many. I don't know.
If we can't shoot an email off and get a response now and then.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have a copy of Martin's and Terry's book, by all means, check it out. You can find it on Amazon in brand new copies. Or it's not a cheap book,
but it's a lot of paper.
Yeah,
it's a lot of paper.
There is a lot of paper in this tome.
Honestly, if you break it down per page, it's really quite valuable.
I hadn't thought about that before. I hadn't thought about that at all. There are so many people that are involved in this. Most of them, unfortunately, are not with us any longer.
Right.
The George Trendles are not with us, the Fran Strikers, and even their kids are not with us any longer to be able to pass on, some of those things. And we're now into the kids' and the kids' generations. And I know one of the folks that I'm going to reach out and have a conversation with is the lawyer that handles so much of this. David is, he knows as much about a lot of this as a lot of us do, only he usually says, well, go get Martin's book.
Right, which makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
And you've had some interesting dealings with him. That'll be a fun conversation.
It will be a very fun conversation. So it's called the Green Hornet Case Files, and I can't wait to jump in and start digging.
I am super excited.
Just so many great aspects. And again, if you get the opportunity to go visit the website, I've just put this new website up. It's a little self-serving because greenhornet66.com is about the cosplay that I do as the Green Hornet, but there's also another little side of it that you can click on and it takes you into the podcast.
Well, when we get into the first episode, I do want to dive into that side of the story and how you came to all of this.
Oh, sure.
So, maybe not now, but when you're ready.
I'm ready anytime that you are. So it's called the Green Hornet Case Files, and we'd love your comments and your questions. If you have them, be sure and reach out to the website. There's a contact information on there. You can click on it and fill out the form. And
again, that's greenhornet66.com.
greenhornet66.com. My name is Greg.
And I'm Corey.
And you're listening to the Green Hornet Case Files. We hope you'll join us.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.